Good morning, everyone. Oh my God, it's Thursday.
Every week happens.
I
Thursday.
know,
We're
and
here.
it shocks me every time that I make it to Thursday. It's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is so busy. Anyway, happy Thursday, everyone. Welcome, Lesley, to our Thursday Thoughts conversation.
Thank you, Nancy.
I love our Thursday Thought conversation. So for everyone, so you understand how we come up with our Thursday Thoughts, it often comes from our group coaching and mastermind program, the Profit Insiders, which we are rolling out another Profit Insider group starting in May. And actually, we got an application yesterday. So
Awesome.
just so everyone knows, applications are always open and we can have the conversation with you to review your application to see if you're a good candidate and give you hope. Even though we're not starting until May, we can talk to you sooner. So if you're interested, go and fill out the application. But today we want to talk about efficient business practices that save you time and make you money.
Yes.
And this is definitely something that is an ongoing job for everyone who owns a business.
Yeah, it's not something that is one and done and you never have to go back to again. I feel like these kind of documented procedures, which sounds very fancy, and we'll dive into that, but they're kind of ever evolving. And, the more you learn on each project, you get new systems, new ideas. This didn't work. Let's do this instead. It is,
Yeah.
I think people get this idea that there has to be like, it is finished and this is how we do business. And like, I'm 8 years in on my own and it's changing every week.
It
Like, things are
changes
always adapting.
every week, every day sometimes, where like we have a great procedure and then we find a hole in it, like something happened and we're like, oh, we didn't know that existed. But in this particular scenario, that happens. So let's now put in our SOP. So for anyone who doesn't know what an SOP is, it's a standard operating procedure. And before I went live, my exact words to Lesley were, nobody understands what the fuck that means. Honestly, right? I come from the corporate world. It's a procedure. Remember procedure manuals that were this thick? So don't get overwhelmed by the term SOP, standard operating procedure. It's just what is your procedure for doing this particular task. So Lesley, give an example of when someone calls you the first time to inquire on their design project.
Yeah, so this would be sort of our onboarding procedure or SOP. And I'm with you. I feel like SOP, first of all, it sounds like SOB, and I think that every time. But don't get hung up on the corporate speak. It's just your workflow. How do you do things so that when somebody does call, send an email, fill out your inquiry form, not only do you know what steps do you take next, but if you eventually have a team, an assistant, then it's out of your brain and somewhere where it can be repeated. So for me, actually, I'll pull mine up. Like if somebody is reaching out for the first time, of course, it doesn't want to cooperate. Obviously, the first thing is to acknowledge that response. Let me see what my workflow is. So, my assistant would read the inquiry form. If we feel that it's a good fit for a full service project, she will respond, let them know that I would love to talk with them, send a link to my calendar. They book a call with me. That meeting is confirmed automatically. I have that phone call. If it's a good fit, then the next step is to, sell a 2-hour in-home consultation. So it's the stuff that you're already doing. Like, I know there's probably some designers going, well, I don't have SOPs. Like, nothing is standard. You're not a unicorn. I get it. We all think everything is different every time. And to a point, it is. There is customization, but there is a procedure you have, whether you have it documented or not, of how things go from start to finish for every part of your business.
Yes. And here's the thing. If you don't have a standard procedure, repeatable, and you're making these decisions on the fly, I mean, it goes as simple as how do you answer the phone for your firm?
Yeah.
What every time you pick up your phone, how do you answer it? So that your brain doesn't have to have the overload of making these decisions every time this thing happens. You write down, this is what I say during the onboarding call. These are the pieces of information I need to understand before I agree to go and even offer an in-home consult, right? It's a process that goes on in your mind and you're putting it down on paper. This way you never have to think of it again and you will never get confused again. It's the process that has worked for you. It may change.
Yep.
A year from now, if you change your calendar system, if you change your phone number, like things do change, but you definitely want to, in order to have efficient business practices that will save you time and money, you want to start documenting your procedures or your standard operating procedures, your SOPs. Not only for yourself to feel like, you know what, I've got this and I'm really documenting my business. It's
Mhm.
because someday you may want to hire someone, or you have someone today that they're doing it one way and you want it done a different way. How do you solve that? Train them and write out the procedure. Have them practice with the procedure you wrote out. Then you'll know if you left out any steps. I always tell my staff, please idiot proof it for me, because if you're gone one day and I need to do something that I don't know how to do anymore because of the staff I have,
Mhm.
um, where I used to know how to do everything myself.
You
But
had
as you
to.
grow, right? Yeah, I had to. But as I grew, I had to rely on other people. Then I thought, oh God, what if they're gone? What if they disappear? I don't even know how to sign into my own email system anymore. Where is that?
Yeah.
Right. So putting your standard operating procedures in place so that you can hire someone in the future. Or if you've hired someone without having your standard operating procedures in place, that's okay too. Guess what? As you train them, you can have them write them.
Yes. We've suggested this to a number of our Profit Insiders designers is sometimes it can be a lot of brain power and time to think through and type out everything you do. Instead, what we've often suggested is use Loom or another video screen recording tool. Just do the thing, talk through it, send them the
Yes.
video, and have them write out the steps because they will be able to take the information that you have cranked out quickly because it's so natural. And
Hmm.
your team member can translate that into a written procedure. Here's what happens first, second, and third.
Yes, absolutely. And then you can take it back and do it and say, did they miss any steps? Right. This way, you know, everything's being covered. Okay. So creating the SOPs, or the procedures, allows you to focus on the things you really need to focus on and not be repeating in your head the way things are supposed to be done. It's kind of like journaling before bedtime, right? Put it all down on paper so you don't have to rethink about it over and over again.
Yeah.
It allows you to delegate repetitive tasks to virtual assistants or to assistants you're bringing in and then letting go. Maybe you have new assistants when you have big jobs and you let them go when you don't. This is a way of keeping consistency in your business.
Mhm.
Let's talk about automation, because you mentioned it in your onboarding procedure that they get a link to your calendar. Like, those little things have helped your business tremendously and helps everyone, as opposed to, what time can you make it? 2 o'clock? No, I can do 2 o'clock. 3 o'clock? No. Okay. And back and forth with texts and phone calls.
Yep.
Have a calendar link. One small automation that really helps.
Yes. And I struggled with that for a while because I felt it was more boutique and high touch to have my wonderful assistant personally set the time. No, it's a big fat effing waste of time for everybody. A calendar link is efficient. It shows you are professional. You
Yes.
have it communicates you've got your stuff together. You know how to take a client, how to take a project from start to finish. So that I think that's a great tip is that's one simple automation you can start with is having a booking link using a system like Acuity or Calendly. There's a lot of them out there,
Yes.
and have your consultation calls, whether they have to go through you like an intake form first, or you just have a direct link on your website. Let people book that, have that system in place, and document that in your SOPs so that everybody knows this is how a project starts. We send a calendar link, client books the call, then here's what we talk about. Here's our talking points on the call and what we need to accomplish on that call.
Yes, and your calendar system can send an email confirming the
Yes.
appointment was set. It can send an email the 24 hours before, and it can send an email 10 minutes before, or whatever you set it as reminders,
Mhm.
so that you get less of people who don't show up for their appointments. And it's just so much more efficient for you. So every little automation you can put into your world is going to help your workflow, your productivity. And obviously, when you help that, you're saving yourself time, which is money, right?
Absolutely.
Some people think they have to hire. And I go, well, before you hire, why don't we put some automation in place? Or let's hire to put the automation in place,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Like, you can hire a virtual assistant just to help you get a calendar system up and connected to your website and put in an email, right? So you have to think efficiency when you're dealing with your procedures and how to get your firm making more money. Okay, so Business systems and process are integral to everyone's success, which is what this whole video is about. And you don't want to shy away from it, but you also don't want to dive in and put all the technology in place all at once and all your procedures at once. Don't rush through this. Understand it's definitely a slow and steady over a year's time can make a really big difference in your writing out your procedures and getting your business practices in place. And then obviously we talked about like time management, how it helps you. But tell everyone how it helps your work-life balance, because I think you're the master of this.
Well, I mean, I have young kids at home. I know right now they leave a certain time in the morning. They are back at 3:55. I have a hard stop every day when that bus shows up at the end of my driveway. And I have to be firm about focus and time management,
Yeah.
staying organized, or else everything falls apart. I also have to have grace in that, there's part of me that's like, well, it's a 40-hour week and you show up for 8 hours. And like, I don't even have 40 hours. Like, I did the math. I only have 35 to start. Never mind eating food, going
Food?
to the
You mean,
bathroom. I get to eat lunch. Imagine that.
and do you get to shower once in a while?
Okay, I do. I shower
Amazing.
at night. I don't like shower in the morning. Anyway, that's a life hack for any mom there. Shower at night when your kids are asleep.
Yes.
Um, yeah, and for me, having those little automations in place, it helps get things off my mind so that I can focus better on the work I have to do. If I've got to, design a layout or pick a color scheme, like those take focus. They take a certain brain space. And if
Yes.
you are bogged down with tasks and to do, I got to remember that thing. Oh shoot, I forgot to call that person. You're not going to get anything productive done. And being able to have systems, being able to delegate, and that's a bit of a separate topic, but this does lead into it. If you've got things written out, it is much easier to hand it off. And I know it's scary to hand things off. I
I
feel you.
know.
Every single one of you, I know that we have all bootstrapped this from the beginning and our businesses are our babies.
Yes.
And if you can start having that little steps to give you more balance, to respect that you've built this business so you can work the way you want. You do not have to be at your desk 40 hours a week from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. Like, you get to make this what you want. And in order to thrive and do that the best way possible, having these systems, business practices, steps in place, I find for me takes so much mental load off of me and it
Yes.
frees me up to do the more important things I need to be present for.
Definitely. And I know in the beginning, the transition to using a project management system like an Asana or a Trello for your business practices and your growth to get more technology and more business systems. We don't want a heavy tech stack. We
Yeah,
don't want you to be using a ton of tech, just the tech that's going to actually save you time, right? And
absolutely.
it's hard to figure out what to use first. So we're telling if you've used nothing before, start with a calendar system. That's the easiest thing to start with. And it feels clunky in the beginning. We get a lot of comments when people start to put technology in. They're like, it just feels like double work.
Yeah.
And it does in the beginning, doesn't it?
Yeah, it will be in the beginning, and that's something really important. It's going to be hard at first to implement these. This is not gonna be like sunshine and rainbows and all my SOPs are done. You're gonna be like, "I don't wanna do this. This is taking up way too much time. I could just get the thing done and move on."
Yep.
But this is that, like, setting the foundation for future months, years, decades over your career versus always being in the same small stuck mode and you being the bottleneck for everything in your business because it's all in here and not anywhere that anybody else can access.
Yeah. It's not a good feeling when you're the one person show and you've gotten sick, let's say,
Yeah.
right?
That
Right.
happens. Or
Or
a kid's
you're
sick
right.
or that shit happens.
Shit happens, right? Right. Your life gets turned upside down when you're the only
Yeah.
one. So you want to prepare your business for growth if growing is what you'd like to do. If you want to stay a solopreneur, it's still very smart to have your procedures written out, your company policies, right? We just put something in we're getting ready to put it in the membership site and operations manual, right? What are your hours of operation? What are your policies and procedures? What are your core values for your company? Like making these decisions and then adding your procedures to that makes you feel like a real company, doesn't it?
100%. And I love that you brought that back around because you mentioned that earlier. And this is so important to do. If you haven't already, it's okay. Start now. But if you are solo and think this isn't for me, this is 100% something to do when you're solo. And I will admit, I felt real stupid. I was like, putting all my tasks in, assign it to me, assign it to me, or like writing out these procedures. I'm like, it's just me. But I can tell you, doing that when it was truly just me before I even had a bookkeeper meant that this became part of my workflow to know that I had these things documented. And
Yes.
then when I did start to hire, and now I've got someone that does social media, I have someone that helps with admin and purchasing and things like that. They all know where to go to get the information they need. And if it's not in there, then we develop something new or we talk about it and add to it. This is what we talked about. It's always an evolving document. I do it in Asana. It can be done in a Google Doc. Do not get hung up on, I don't have the right software or the perfect format. Just get it out of your head and somewhere. It might feel really silly, and it will feel really silly to have an operations manual for your business when it is just you, but it is 100% worth doing early and have it be part of your SOPs moving forward, is to know that there's a home base for the to-dos and the hows for your business, for running the business side of it.
Definitely. And I hear everyone watching live or on replay going, and yeah, when am I supposed to have time to do that? Right. So we have put a link to our time analysis exercise and also a link to our business building boutique, which has a ton of free content and lessons in there for you. When it comes to the time management exercise, it's going to ask you, what are your priorities right now?
Mhm.
And then track your time for 3 days, which everybody hates to do, but wow, is it eye-opening. When I realized way back when I was growing my art consulting business, gee, I was still watching 3 or 4 hours of TV a day because that was when my mind could turn off and I needed that. And I was a mom of 3 young kids at that time. And you know what? Yeah, I needed some TV time at the end of the night to help me unwind. That is my dirty pleasure. I love watching TV. However, when my goals at the time were growing my business in order to make more money and reach more people, 3 or 4 hours of TV should not have been the way I was using my time. So when I saw that on the exercise that I create these exercises, and then I actually do them. I thought, okay, what do I have to do? Make a rule. I can only watch TV if I'm folding laundry, cooking, or it was after 10 o'clock at night. Made a rule, right? So doing the time analysis exercise, which we've linked below, allowed me to find the time to do things like my operations manual and my procedures, which at that time was one of my top 3 priorities over the next 6 months. So finding the time is key, which is why we linked the time analysis exercise. And again, go check out the Business Building Boutique. Lesley and I are in there all the time, in addition to our membership site, which is the paid side, tweaking things and bringing them up to date and redoing these exercises as fast as we can. But there's a lot.
There's a lot.
There's a lot. It's a lot, but it's everything you need to run a business.
Yeah.
An interior design business specifically. So, all right. If you are just signing in, please, if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe so you get notified of future broadcasts and learning opportunities, which is really what I'm calling them now, because these are little mini lessons that we give behind closed doors sometimes, behind the paid Zoom wall, but it's really live out here for everyone who needs it. If you want to cull together all our videos, which are on my YouTube channel. Okay. All right, everyone, go have a great day. Remember that the efficient business practices that you put in place today will, in the long run, save you time and make you money. Even though it's hard to figure it out and hard to find the time to do it, it is worth it. If you need help, we are here. Our next Profit Insiders for Interior Designer Group Coaching program starts in May. I can't remember the exact date, something like May 18th, and applications are already coming in. So if you want, go to my website, nancyganzakofer.com, and you can apply to be a Profit Insider. Apply now, apply right before it starts. I don't care, as long as I have time to talk to you and make sure you're a good fit for the program. Okay. And Lesley is my associate coach in that program. So you don't just get 1, you get 2. I love it. All right, everyone, go have a great Thursday, and we will see you next week. Thanks, Lesley.
Thanks, Nancy. Bye, everyone.